Well, yes, indeed. Malaki Gumadu joins us next to shed some light on what you just heard in some of those reports played. He's a legal advisor, Movement for the Liberation of Southern Sahara. Thank you for coming on this morning.
I'm happy to be here.
Well, here we are again talking about, albeit a controversial impeaching of the Speaker of the Kogi State House of Assembly. And then you've seen the members of the House of Reps saying that we are performing our constitutional duty going over there for the purposes with which they have gone there. But by now, many would have thought this kind of scenarios would be history. But here we are faced with it again. And it turns out, now that the National Assembly has gone in there, you see an end to this?
Well, I think to kickstart the discussion is to admonish the state actors in Kogi State to be a lot more circumspect. One would have thought that after the crisis that preceded the governorship election and the turbulence that introduced, the state actors, like I said, politicians, would have been a lot more careful to navigate the waters in such a way that the people of Kogi State are not shortchanged. Largely, that seems not to be happening. And at the moment, if they don't effectively manage the affairs of the State House of Assembly, quite frankly, and in accordance with the Constitution, the National Assembly has the right to take over the legislative activity of the State House of Assembly. And so I think the issues are simple. Namely, was there the number required for the purported impeachment of the Speaker? The Constitution insists that it must be by a two-thirds majority of members of the State House of Assembly. And the question can easily be posed whether that number was met. If it was met, then it will be said that they've scaled that hurdle. Otherwise, it will mean that we are back to the same circumstances we have had in the past, where most removals were easily challenged and upturned.
That's the part. Let me take that up a little bit, because many see this and think, look, the reason why they keep doing this is because if they don't want a certain person to preside over their affairs, what they do is they could get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, if they don't make up a quorum, come up and say you've impeached them, because you then create a situation wherein, look, you go to court. And so if you then go to court, you're already divided. You can't preside. What if that's the ultimate aim? How do we ensure that those kind of things don't even happen?
Well, there's very little you can do from our side to ensure that those things don't. I think it's even part of the poverty of the kind of politics we're playing at the moment. But I would think that what can be done to stem some of these transgressions can come from even the law enforcement agencies. The fact that you operate in the State House of Assembly or in the National Assembly does not vest in you the right to commit fraud, for instance, or impersonation or whatever.
What such can that the law enforcement do?
Yes, if as we find, people have already gone ahead to give impression that certain members of the House have appended their signature to such an exercise, and it turns out that that never happened. That for me is not just forgery, impersonation and so on, clearly criminal activities. So you are not immune from criminal investigation simply because you conducting a legislative affairs. And I'm saying that the law enforcement agencies can take 1 or 2 of these instances and deal with it conclusively, so in such a way that one of the strategies by which these confusions, as you put it, are created are clearly limited.
If that were to be the case, so while the police is investigating, who presides over the House?
Well, again, that is why I said that one would have thought that after the crisis that preceded the governorship election, the legislative arm of the same government ought to be a lot more careful. I have made the point that once there is a clear breakdown of law and order in such a way that the State House of Assembly is unable to discharge their responsibility as a legislative house, that automatically invokes the power, the supervisory power of the National Assembly to do the same thing. Another instance where that can happen is when there is a state of emergency, for instance, like you recall in Ekiti State, it did happen. The National Assembly can, make general laws for the order and good governance of the state. So the choice is really that of the Ekiti State as supposed to be captured by the legislatures who are representatives of the people of Ekiti State. And I think that this calls to action, citizens' power, citizens' rights, to begin to speak to members of the State of Assembly, to say that, look, these are the clear implications of what is going on right now in the State House of Assembly. And I don't think it would be in the best interest of Kogi people where legislations will come all the way from Abuja to attend to the peculiar needs of the people of Kogi State. And I think that will also be violative of the whole principle of federalism.
Tell us more on citizens' rights here, because sometimes it was only recently we were talking about what the constituents or the representatives think about those that are there, because sometimes you come forward and you say this is the thinking of your constituents, that this is the message or the vibe you're getting from your constituents. Perhaps that is why sometimes you get to see some people append their signature on any matter concerning Assembly or House of Representatives issue. With Kogi State in sight now, what do you think the constituents would have been able to do when such a matter occurred?
Your question touched on what I can also identify as the leadership recruitment strategy or processes. One, it doesn't start when they are already in the House. It starts before their election. What is the background check conducted on these respective individuals that are weighing our votes to be able to represent us? What is their capabilities? To what extent have they dramatized capacity in relation to their endeavors before they start seeking political offices? Now, these background checks are necessary because if you're able to ascertain it and measure them, you can project, you can extrapolate that when they get there, this is precisely what they're able to do. Now, if you fail at that point, you will also be, you will have to deal with more challenging crises because you may have missed the major point. Secondly, you are aware of section 69, if I'm not mistaken, of the Constitution that talks about of recall. Now, the only challenge with that section of the Constitution is that it is so Herculean, so rigorous that many people in Nigeria today are driven by the survival instinct level, where they are merely bothered about what they will eat tomorrow or today, as the case may be, and not preoccupy themselves with another round of process that is even more tedious than conducting the election itself. How would people who are unable to organize themselves around the core needs of life, how would they begin to approach INEC? How would they begin to gather the quorum? How would they begin to set up a referendum? How would they begin to mobilize the people just so to recall one particular person? But I think that these are issues of advocacy. I mean, if it doesn't happen today, it will happen tomorrow. The citizens must show, just as we all did during the 2015 election, that look, the real sovereignty of this country resides in the people, and that it doesn't matter whether the government is incumbent. That such a government can be removed, and it happened. Now, are we getting all that we desired? That could be debatable, but the point is clear. It is that, look, the people of Ekiti State must be able to identify where the red lines are. Kogi, sorry. And then should also be able to organize themselves in such a way that they can take very proactive steps to control the excesses of just about 20-something members of the State House of Assembly. And then the activities are already, as it were, undermining the prospects of Kogi people from getting the dividends of this democratic experiment.
All right, we'll come back to this and then continue on it. But let's quickly go for another look at the headlines now.